Warm greetings. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Wiki WRC, and in collaboration with W4W Foundation. This is Mansi Balbharga from the House of Wiki WRC and W4W Foundation and currently holding the National President position of the WRC. Besides the founder director of W4W Foundation, we are glad to start this conversation, namely Monday Munching Musing with Women for Water, which we co-equally refer as Blue Lips. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and the wisdom by the woman, for the woman, of the woman in the water sector. In here, we hope to learn about the water endeavors of the woman in a regular disciplined manner like a master class. The conversation is part of the research on women in water, focusing on leadership, and the method used is called autoethnography, which in simple word translates into one's biography written by someone else, and today this someone else is me. The open-ended structured questions are tabled in the interaction as an informal interaction for conversation to flow like water. We are now 100 sessions old and today we are into 103 sessions and we are here to learn from Dr. Rinan Shah and Soma Sarkar. Thank you so much Rinan and Soma for agreeing to do this session. We are so happy that we have also young people talking about their water endeavors. But before I invite you to the interaction, I would just like to put on record a quick overview of your experiences. Dr. Rinan Shah is from Bijanbari Valley, a village town in Darjeeling district of Eastern Himalayan region. She is an interdisciplinary researcher with 10 years of experience in environmental development and sustainability studies. She studies water, mountains, governance, policy, institutions, and urban issues with a right-based approach. Rinan is co-founder of Reading Himalaya and is a Marie Curie Actions Fellow at the School of Society and Environment, Queen's Mary University of London. She is also associate at the Lakshmi Mittal and Family South Asia Institute at Harvard University. She was a postdoctoral fellow with the Center for Excellence for Himalayan Studies, Shiv Nadar Institute of Eminence, and her areas of interest encompass the environment and development in the political economic context. Her work has been published in international journals and she is guest editing for a special issue. She has also published commentaries, policy analysis reports and popular articles. And I know these girls very well, so once again, welcome. But Soma Sarkar is an associate fellow with Observer Researcher Foundation's Urban Studies Program and a doctoral scholar at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. Her research spans the intersection of environment and development, urban studies, water governance, climate change, adaptation and resilience, institutional governance and public policy. Her doctoral research explores urban water crisis and governance mechanisms in the complex urban waterscapes of Indian Himalayas, contributing to the discourse on sustainable urban futures in ecologically sensitive regions. Prior to joining ORF, Soma was an assistant professor at the Center for Environment, Urban Governance and Infrastructure Development at Administrative Staff College of India, which is ASCI, Hyderabad. She has co-directed training programs on public-private partnerships in municipal solid waste management and worked on public projects related to urban water governance, evaluation of centrally sponsored urban transformation schemes, and WASH. She has co-edited a book on urban commons, future smart cities and sustainability, and as a part of Springer, and she's also all up for new project, which is also edited by Springer Nature. We are looking forward to it. She has been disseminating her work through academic and popular publications and presentations at various levels, from national to international. Thank you so much, girls. As your biography is already read through, we are now going to jump into the conversation to get to know these girls, these women, and it is about you and not about your water journey. But of course, you in the water journey. All set for the conversation? Okay, let's go for it. So I would like to bring you to your days or years or events or activities when you thought that water is something where you would like to engage or you fell in love. How was it? And do you still explore other sectors or you are comfortably seated in the water sector? Maybe we start with Rinan and then go to Soma. How is it? Yeah?
Sure.
Go ahead, Rinan. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I hope I'm audible to everybody and my voice
You
is
are
fine.
audible, and I see people in YouTube also, so we will also take questions if there are. Yeah, okay.
Okay. I think for me it is kind of mixed because I began my academic journey was very different from what it was right now. So if we talk about work wise, it was only after probably during my masters that's when I picked up the work on water. However, because I am from the Himalayan region, the water is a conversation. It's a daily conversation, right? So in a sense, even when we're talking about sorry, moving from the mountains to the plains, we are like, we don't know how the water in the plains tastes like, so these are like the daily conversations that you have in mind. And even when because the problems around water, we didn't see it as problems, but it did exist. Like even when we were in the hostels, we were only given like, one mug of water to use for your morning usage, and then in the evening. So in a sense it was all embedded in us, and then the question became stark when I actually got into it academically, when we talked about the eastern Himalayan region in particular, where there's so much water but there's no water to drink, right? So and that has been the driving question for me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Soma.
Yeah, hi. I actually also resonate with Rinan, and my engagement with water as a subject, it did not begin in an academic setting. It began through lived experience, my childhood experiences, and so on. So I grew up in a small town in West Bengal called Purulia, which is a very water-stressed region. And, it is water-stressed, and the water supply is still very erratic and intermittent there. So in our house, we did not have a house tap connection at that time. We depended on the public tap, and as a result of that, I saw how the rhythm of every day was structured around the timing of water supply, the availability of water, and also questions around who is going to get the water from the tap. So grew up with this questions and contestations around water, but at that time was not able to frame the questions that way, although as Rinan said, these experiences are always embedded within us. And I was quite intrigued by, the social dynamics that unfolded around the space of water. So more than water as a resource, I got to see water itself as a space from a very young age, and the gender and caste dynamics within it. So that stayed very strongly with me. And although I did not have the conceptual language to describe what I had observed during my childhood days, with further education and exposure and experience of fieldwork in different regions and exposure to literatures of political ecology and critical literature, then I started framing the questions in my mind, and I thought about engaging with this further in my academic journey. So after that, research and fieldwork has taken me to different regions and contexts, but the core concern has remained the same. Of understanding how water access is shaped by social, institutional, and ecological factors, and the issue of equity in water access and governance, it continues to resonate very strongly with me, and something that I would want to continue pursuing in future as well.
That's nice, and it is so important that people like you, both of you, who are taking up water as a scholarship work or scholarly work, not driven by opportunities, but actually, as you both mentioned, that it was embedded in your life. And that brings me to the next question of actually when we talk about water professionals, we already know that it is, of course, managed, not really gender equity, even in the professional sector, let alone when we talk about women bearing the burden of water crisis. But how it has been, knowing both of you that you both have been quite field researcher and also very articulative in writing your narratives. What is that you enjoy doing in within the water sector? Briefly, you have mentioned, and also your resume also tells us a lot. But still, as a human, what are the things in water sector that concerns you, or that really motivates you to continue working? And I'm sure there are certain challenges being women in the water sector. So I'm asking three questions in one question, but I think they are interrelated, so I cannot really split them aside. Certain things we enjoy doing. Personally, I am really challenged to write. I'm super challenged to write. You can ask me to get anything implemented, you can ask me to do things, but the moment you ask me to write, I have serious problems because I did not educate myself in writing. So I'm just sharing my weakness, but I would like to hear from you. And actually, that is why I took up this challenge, because then I'm learning and I'm pushed to write and learning from all of you. What is it? Maybe we start with Soma and Rinan gets a little bit of breather now.
Yeah, I- what I enjoy the most about working in the space of water is, and especially working in the field, is to connect, research with the lived realities of people. That is something I feel very strongly about. And water is one such space, where where the issues are such that the social, ecological, political dimensions, they intersect, and you get to explore all of them. So you cannot be very strict about your own discipline into water research. You have to, be interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. So that makes it more meaningful for me, of course. And fieldwork has been very deeply, a part of my journey. Visiting communities and speaking with people about how they access and manage water, and observing local practices that evolve around both scarcity and abundance. And uh, these kind of offer insights that hard data cannot always give. So these are things that really excites me. And these interactions also, constantly remind me that water governance is not just about infrastructure, right, or policy frameworks. It is also about the everyday negotiations that happens at a very micro level, the cultural practices and the community knowledges around. Now, this aside, the challenge that I feel, while we understand the problems, all of us, we understand the problems, we share the concerns, but when it comes to, providing solutions or making, going to the actual planning of it, it is still very much infrastructure driven, core engineering driven, where I find not just the presence of women limited, the perspective that women carry is also very limited. Uh, so that is, one hard challenge that I find, that the responses are always based on infrastructure augmentation and hard engineering solutions rather than understanding these knowledge nuances within the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you raised an interesting point and you put it in two separate words: less presence of women and also an alternate perspective. Because this is something important, that having more women does not naturally translate into having more, equity aspect into consideration. Rinan, what's your take on this question?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both what Mansi and Soma said. And Mansi, yeah, even writing is also the most difficult part for me, right? And being water researchers, or being researchers in general, the dialogue that has been happening for the past, since I have been here, I don't know if it was there before, is that whether, the scientists or the researchers should be doing the outreach work, and vice versa, right? And it's very important, because I feel like it's a moral responsibility. Once you're researchers, you have to make your language accessible to the public, no? So, and these are the different kinds of writings you have to do. You have to do the writings for your policy, you have to do writings for the people, you have to do writings for the journal, and nobody teaches you this, right? So in a sense, for me, that is also a very difficult, space that I'm trying to navigate, and I'm hoping these next 2 years, for us, most of the times is like, you have really good empirical information, and that's probably also the how the sector is in India. I don't know about the other South Asian countries, but in India, it's very empirics heavy. So what it does is, you like, even for you, for example, you have now 200 interviews, right? So we have very good with the empirics, but translating that into something
Yes.
for research or even for public, it is a very difficult, it's not very difficult, but we need more practice. I think that is something which find the difficulty with. And in doing so, what also could be done is the policy remains in a bubble. It is still in a bubble. You know, we don't know who is going. I mean, when the thing is, when we are talking to younger people, many times we they'll be like, oh, is, what can we do? They'll be like, well, can we change the world and all? Sorry. But in a sense, we also know that there are only few things we can do, and how should, a lot of times I feel the policy who are developing the policy, the power structure and dynamics is so difficult to go through, that you don't know how to make that inroads into making this policy bubble burst in some ways, because the idea is like, oh, the numbers are there, right? All the data is getting uploaded at the national level, central level. So why is it not working on ground? But then we have to contest them and say, the numbers are just numbers. Anybody can put in the numbers. And there have been standoffs with me, with people who are implementing such stuff, and they'll be like, why don't you ask your local government to do it? And it is not our responsibility all that, not all the time it is. But how do we make the policies that are generated at a very abstract level with many numbers, and it's also the people. How do you make the people? And so I think that the challenges are also the enjoyable parts, because for me, if I the thing that I said about having so much water but still facing scarcity, that is a question I began my master's with, right? And I'm still continue, that is my premise till today. So in a sense, there are many ways. Probably I'm entering into a bigger and bigger audience which don't know that this such problems exist, and that question still holds, which means that there is still scope to do the work in that field. And for me, I'm still holding that space and then expanding. That time you asked if I will work in water in that particular respect, but then expand it through different versions. Yeah, I mean, those are many things I said. Thanks.
Okay, that's interesting. You also touched on nerves somewhere inside me, the fact that we have to have this different language to communicate amongst a peer group, which is scientific work, then with the people, with the policy. And I so much agree with you that it is a constant struggle we face. And somewhere people like us also have this extra burden after the 30 years of being in the water sector. I actually face this question many times in classrooms, that if you know so much, why don't you just go and do things on ground? Now, this is something like an over expectation from someone who is already doing few things of the scope of work, and it is very natural, I think, request or demand from people, especially students and local communities, when they say, especially when we have proponents of action in the country. There are people like that if you are cleaning the lake, you are better than you are writing about the lake. That is also a scholarship void, I feel, that we are so much inclined to do things than to think about doing things. And that is a policy gap which I also realize. Let me just now lighten our questions a little bit more, and I want to ask something very personal. You may choose not to answer, or you may have something to share. Often I can go back to my own life, and I know that when we started career and family and we wanted to enjoy our passion, we somehow looked to our inspirations and we wanted to carry this superwoman syndrome or hat on ourselves and do everything perfect in life, you know. So this whole juggling of time and to be able to do this, that, and there are very few people who are lucky enough to have found a convergence between passion, profession, and personal life, that everything flows now like water. And honestly speaking, I am not embarrassed to share in every platform that I have been that fortunate child. And also for a long time not really taking this burden of becoming a superwoman and being perfect in everything, but this is an art you actually nurture over time and realize that it can happen. But now, since both of you are emerging scholars and practitioners, have you already gotten into that shoe of superwoman? You want to reach somewhere, you want to do something, and then you are juggling with it, or have you already decoded? Usually, when I'm asking this question to seniors, I already ask them the decoded mantra of life. Like people like me now, I give damn to anything, to be honest. I just do what I love to do. But I know in the early career there are different priorities. So how do you manage or how do you navigate your life so that you can enjoy, or do you really already reached have you reached that stage where your passion, profession, and personal life has found a convergence, or do you think it is even required that they can run parallelly? How is it with you? And maybe a little bit of how do you manage family with your professional work? Who wants to go first? Soma? Maybe? Yeah.
Oh my God. To be very honest, this is something I'm still learning and trying to navigate. I don't think I have the perfect formula for work-life balance yet. Uh, there are ambitions, of course. There are, there are goals, personal, professional, that I would like to, reach. Uh, but and I don't think I want to be, somebody like a superwoman. I don't visualize myself that way. Um, some priorities are clear, and this is many over the last few years. This is something that I have gradually realized that the convergence is definitely needed. The balance is definitely needed. Uh, that is something I really, work towards for. But the balance, according to me, is less about doing everything perfectly at a time altogether. But also rather it is about prioritizing your tasks and what to do when, what are the priorities at different moments, and categorizing things that way. But yeah, this is something I'm still working towards. So I really do not have a
It's a
perfect
work in
answer.
progress for all of
Yes,
us.
yes.
That's true. Rinan, how are you placed? And now these nuclear families are also making it life a little bit different than our previous time. I'm not saying good or bad, but there are trade-offs in.
Trade-offs, and also there is no guidebook to go through.
Yeah, it's same as Rinan was saying that there is no learning actually given to us how to write for three different audiences or readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to navigate life is also there is no handbook for it. Rinan, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I feel probably for me, uh, I always say that, what if I had known that you could do research for life like a much younger age? Because this kind of, either the development professional, or because or like something which involves research, because we are not taught of this profession. We didn't know it exists even, right? So like would things have been different if I had known earlier?
Oh, yes.
So that's because a lot of learning is what we did by ourselves. And I feel my parents are like, you know best, so you just do whatever you want to, right? So that also comes from your support from your family, I think, and which is very hard to come by for women even today. Like I know people younger than me who are struggling to have conversations at home because they're like, oh, shadi kar lo, ye kar lo, all those things, right? So I mean, it is a very, it is still not progressed as much as we would expect it to progress for women, especially, right? And and for me, I mean, it has been great because I draw clear demarcations between work and non-work. I try to do that. And then for me, I tell people who studying is my passion. So, that that is what I would like to do. And however, the other larger questions of finances, financial security is a big thing probably in this sector, which we don't, we can't be making as much. But even if we aren't as making as much, how do we, then you have the whole mathematics of finances, the budgeting, the grant writing, how to get money to do your work that you want, which is a larger question. But also, these things are also, all of these things are what we are learning by ourselves, unless and until you have really supportive, mentors around you. We have to look for things. I think that is also one thing we have come to realize, is that you have to talk, you have to seek help. If and we are not taught to talk, right, when you're young.
Yes, that's a big
I mean,
problem.
they're like don't talk, and now you have to talk to make everything happen. So overall, it is like that. And lastly, it is also like, we don't know whether hustle is a good word or a bad word. Because when
Yes.
people tell me that, I'm like, is that a bad thing or a good thing, right? So in a sense, I do like to draw boundaries, and I will do the work, but I don't think so I'm a perfectionist. So maybe I can let things slide by. Sometimes, it doesn't work out for me and the other term involved. Sometimes it does. So yeah, I think we have to just find the pieces where we can, work without being nasty to each other. Yeah.
That's interesting. We will find our way. Yes, Soma, you want to add
Yeah,
something?
I just want to add like something what Rinan said really caught my thought. We in our research journey we do a lot of either ors. Because I'm doing this, I cannot think about anything else. The social pressures of marriage and also finance is a very important thing. In India, specifically, research is not well compensated.
No,
So
not yet.
fellowships not coming
Not
on
yet.
time, or struggling for a hostel on the campus, or everything. So I think when it shouldn't be this way. There has
Yeah.
to be some mechanism that one can do research in a comfortable way, and should not be an either or situation for anything. You don't have to hold off many things in your life till your 30s, and then think, oh my god, everything is coming at once. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an important point both of you raised. And I think we all juggle through it for the very reason that we don't have that enabling environment. And actually, it is not about being women or men in this sector. It is about everyone, especially because three of us are sitting today as researchers, but I also have practitioners talking to me and policymakers talking to me. There is something on the work sphere, and especially where for researchers, because the space is not there in the society for researchers as what you do. It also starts with family, that if they don't understand what we do, we are in a space where we don't have many people. And rightly pointed out by Rinan that it is good to have mentors. And trust me, even yesterday I was talking to a young water scholar for nearly 3 hours, and it was not about water. It was about how to navigate life, how to find a better career, how to do this and that. And I should not say fortunate enough, but I should definitely flag it as a concern that I do receive many young friends who have these concerns, and I don't have answers to it other than just lending my ears to hear their work or worries or whatever their ears. And I see a serious a gap there. Honestly speaking, now because I am engaged in this kind of conversations, I see it more, because when we faced it in our young age, we didn't even realize that there is a problem. I mean, I started from a time when people were even showing in my field of architecture and planning that water is not even a subject to be studied, coming from architecture planning. And now at least there is some kind of an acceptance that water has to be studied in architecture planning, to the extent of laughing it out by even teachers and, peer groups. And from there, the navigating was not so easy. But that brings me to the next round of question. Very simple two questions, and it is on women leadership. And you both have a substantial experience of going on the field, working with different organizations. And I would like to know your idea of, the presence or absence of women leadership in the water sector. I feel there is more women leadership evident on the ground, especially in the rural and water stressed areas. And this is where I also feel that Wiki WRC is doing a huge contribution for the country in the sense that the women professionals' presence and absence needs to be discussed. And I'm trying to write few articles on it. What's your experience of looking at women leadership in the water space? Why are we so less? World tells me that 1 in 5 professional water professional is women. India actually fares less than 1 in 10. Why is it?
So I think the basic question, not the basic, who becomes water professionals, right? And again, the water professionals are the civil engineers, in many ways. And the civil engineering subject is a very male-dominated subject. Even when it is being proposed as an engineering subject or students are coming in to take the subject, it is presented.
I think we lost Rinan's connection. Soma, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think we lost Rinan's connection. Could you
Girls
please
don't-
continue? Oh,
I
sorry.
think she's back.
Nan, we lost you for a few seconds.
Sorry. I know, I can't imagine that the internet is bad here. It is so weird. Yeah. I mean, the subject itself, oh God, is it, am I there?
Yeah, you are there. You are there.
Okay,
Please continue.
okay. When we talk about people, no, it's like the gendered angle is present in being the woman and the man, but it's also present in the subjects, right? Like how engineering, management is seen as very technical, economics as male subjects, and women find it hard to make entryways into those subjects. And even when we talk about engineering, it is they are the ones also. When you talk about water, the engineering works are the ones that are mainly implementing them on ground, which means, by default there's no pipeline for women to enter that, right? And even I know Soma has worked in Shimla, right? Even in the mountains, even in the mountains, even in Mumbai, you have a lot of linemen who are doing the waterworks, and it's all men because these are not thought of jobs as women. So that's the technical part of it. And that is why I think a lot of understanding gap also comes in, because the water is being supplied by the men and being used by the women. So it's like, it's like the black and the white, and there's no way both can come together. And women, I mean, the work they do on ground is massive, because they're not only working on looking at water for the household, but they're also doing the whole negotiations around space and who you should talk to, where should I get the water from. We already burdened, so it's like a double, a triple burden for the women of the household. And even when you talk about it professionally, what are the positions that is opening up for women in that sense is maybe, again, you go back to policy, and there might be a couple of, but I'm happy to say that I did, we have like a full length documentary and a series where we worked on gender and water, especially focusing on the indigenous communities. And in India, you have, as Mansi mentioned, a lot of women led movements, micro movements, very small scale movements across the country. And that is also probably my research question for the coming years, is where are the women in the spaces which are directly engaging with water? Even though the women are doing work at home, they are not there in the community based organizations also. So the absence is not only at the large scale, but who's getting to make decisions, and who is actually having to work with the decisions they make. I think it's like at multiple levels. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. Actually, in grassroots, we find more women leaders, but then still they don't make it to the decision.
Yeah. True.
Soma, what's your experience in this?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you and Renan said that it appears like a paradox. Because we see women in water as obvious everywhere, and we see women deeply involved in the everyday management of water at the domestic level, community level also. But when it comes to leadership and decision-making positions, we don't find them. And as Rinan said, that historically this is a sector that is dominated by engineering and infrastructure-oriented, institutions, which like be it the urban utilities or the irrigation departments and so on. And these have been traditionally male-dominated spaces. So that is, of course, one aspect of it. What I also find is, and especially now when we talk about, we raise this question that why women are absent in this space. There is a persistent, disconnect between experiential knowledge and institutional authority. So women's experience, it is doubtful that how much of women's experience, lived experiences are considered in formal policy making or in institutional decision making. But women play a very central role in managing water at the domestic level. But that knowledge is rarely recognized as an expertise. That is one thing, and the other thing, I strongly feel that there is also this, as a result of this, there is also this methodological peripheralization. That only certain forms of data contributing to certain metrics are considered, and also in the form of performance indicators and so on. And the ground voices are not considered in this. So these are barriers in the path, I would say. And along with this, there are also like the social dimensions, social expectations about certain roles and all that also come to play, about who has access to which space and all that. But having said that, I'm hoping that things are changing for good, slowly, very slowly, but they are going in a direction. People have recognized that this need to have women in the system, although the integration has to be more organical and in a participatory way, but still a start, I would say.
We are in transition, but not really in the way it should. And I just want to quote here some example. And also, I'm writing an article for World Water Day, because this year World Water Day theme is water and gender, and it comes with a campaign tagline: "Where water flows, equality grows." This is, and you go to the UN Water and UN website, and you see straight away they start jumping into the vulnerability aspect of women, and and completely overlooking the leadership aspect of women. And that's where I'm writing an article on "From Water for Women to Women for Water." And this is also something which we have been doing at this Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, because the very idea that women has to be seen only from the vulnerable side, that because they have this unsaid responsibility. And I see, of course, it is part of the disease called patriarchy. But both of you rightly also highlighted the fact that they don't, even if they are leading on the ground, they don't make it to the policy decision making and all. But imagine UN talking about water and gender, and straight away jumping into looking at women who are facing the brunt of water, rightfully so, we have to face. But that also limits our methodological and theoretical looking at the women who are into water sector. And this is something which we also found during my initial literature review for this series, when I was designing this series, that there is not much talks about women leadership in the water sector. If we continue to narrate that leadership, probably it will also come into the boardroom. It will come into the discussion, and they will play more instrumental role in even decision making. And I think this was the argument I made 2 years ago at the World Water Week, when CV supported our initiative of Wiki Water Resource Council, and we found a global platform to speak about women leadership. Eventually, we turned it into a scientific publication with Vishal writing for us. Who better than Vishal writing for us on women leadership? But this is something we see as a huge void, and I also experience it. I was not a woman worker in that sense, but the fact that the moment we talk about water and gender, it straight away slips into women and water, and even in the women, the classification of vulnerable women and water, not really women for water. There are, see, through Wiki Water Resource Council, we have identified over 120 women professionals, powerful women professionals across the country, who are making leading impacts in the water sector. And then through Wednesdays for Water, you also know that nearly 300 women speakers from the water sector have spoken on our platform. So it's not that there is dearth of leadership in among the women. It's just that how the narrative has to change from water for women to women for water also. I'm not saying that we don't need to work on water for women. We need to change the narrative. Why not water for men? Let men take the responsibility. So this is something which we have to change. But if United Nation is thinking gender is equal to woman, then we are still far, Soma and Rinan. That is the point I want to make it. Gender has to be, I am so tempted to write, let us talk about water and gender and talk about what men do in water sector. Let us talk about all the destructive policies they make. Let us talk about how all men sit together and discuss. Why not? Even if it includes the shaming, of course, I will not be liked, and it is not, I am not even liked by many of the manners, because I am always flagging the manners in the Ministry of Jal Shakti or any other ministries when they come up with all men standing with some book and some decisions, and they say, oh, we did this for women for water, come on, or water for women. I think there's a problem. But that brings me to a very simple question to both of you, because you have worked across and met people across the ground to policy people. How do you really look at leadership as an idea? What kind of traits and skill sets does you appreciate as a leader? I'm asking this question very carefully, knowing that leadership is a pyramidal position. So it goes back to the very narrative that if we have more women in the water sector, then women have fairer chance to lead the water sector in terms of professional women. But there are also certain traits and skill sets amongst women or amongst anybody, because leadership is not a gendered role. It is a kind of a engendered role. There has to be some skills which are inherent in person, and most of the skills can be actually nurtured. We know a lot of leadership programs, and especially for women empowerment happens. I have not heard men empowerment programs ever. I wish there are more men empowerment programs also. But what is your idea of a leader or a leadership? What kind of traits we can inherit, we can nurture, or women should have, or anyone should have for that matter? Rinan, you want to go first? Yeah, go ahead. You have to unmute.
Yeah. For I mean, leadership is also such a, it's a very complicated position to be in. But what I would say is the leadership should also be dynamic in the sense that they should give space to people, give space to the younger people. I mean, maybe I'm being, but in a sense, a lot of times we don't see there are spaces where people, move away and make space for others. That is not very, it's not happening a lot, I feel, and that should happen. And the thing is, no, you can't wait for it to happen. Like, if you are a leader, you can't wait for people to come. You have to create the space for people to come and engage with you. And in a sense, when you are sitting there and then you are feeling, oh, nobody is coming to take my position of leadership, means that you have not created an enabling environment for people to actually be able to come up to you and say, oh, listen to my ideas. And probably that's also where the lagging thing is. I'm really thankful to have had amazing mentors and like supervisors who actually let me do whatever I wanted to do. I feel that is also has been a very big push for me. It's like, if there are, some are practical decisions you have to make, right? But they have been really keen on me just trying my hand at everything. And it's not like creating, these obstacles that you should not talk to people. Those things also happen. You should not talk to the other team. You should not engage with other people. You do not talk to this group of people, or so in a sense, I feel that enabling kind of environment where a leader, if you are a leader or you are, somebody senior to me, you should also have the courage to say, I don't know this. You can go out and find other people, and I'll be okay with that. Because in a sense, the relationships, when it is a power dynamic, it becomes, it is pretty scary for the people who are at the other end. So I feel that you have to be kind, first of all. I think kindness is the biggest thing to being a leader. Yeah.
Okay, Soma?
Yeah, I completely resonate with Rinan on this. As early career researchers, we look up to people, and particularly women in senior leadership role. Uh, Not just in terms of mentorship, guidance, but also looking up to as someone, the path that we could follow. We would want to become like them, yes, or something like that. So that becomes both a motivating space, and if it goes wrong, a very demoralizing space, to be very honest. So I think so it is not just about holding a senior position, it is about helping in shaping ideas, mentoring the younger generation, uh, because if not them, then who else will give the voice to the next generation? So I think that is very important, that there should be a willingness to nurture the next generation, and actively support younger scholars and practitioners in 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 nurturing these young voices, and also create spaces where ideas can emerge independently. So yeah, these are my
Yes,
thoughts.
thank you. Because when I was young, and of course slowly getting into the water sector, I only knew four women: Vandana Shiva, Sunita Narayan, Medha Patkar, full stop. And after some years, I got to know Indira Khurana, Madhu Verma, and few more. But to be honest, having conducted these 100 sessions, I got to know so many women leaders. Get to know their work. Got to know their worries. I got to know how do they navigate in the water sector, and the diversity of subsectors they are working within water sector. And that also tells hugely about that it is definitely transcended from the engineering space of water to social space, social ecological space. I mean, Soma and I, we are working on social ecological aspects more for that matter. So this is something which is very inspiring, to be honest, as today is also the last session of the series. I'm so grateful that we are having, and I'm so happy that I could get hold of both of you. That also brings me to the last round of questions, very simple questions. One question is about how do you see networks, councils, platforms, or associations? They are different names, but having a peer group of people who with whom you can speak or do something. Do you think for young women scholars or practitioners or anyone in the water sector, or have you part of any of these kind of associations or networks, and how do you see they benefit or not benefit, or where do you find their importance in your career? And if you are part of any other council platforms and networks, please enlighten us about it. Because I'm asking this question from Wiki Water Resource Council. We are 4 years old with nearly 100 women found and interviewed through this, which is, I feel, very enriching and learning for me. Rinan?
Yeah. I feel like you said, it might be like, how is the disciplinary focus of the network? I think that would be one big question for me. And also if there is a registration fee or not, to get.
There is no in WRC,
So
no give
probably
and take.
those things are there, and you know, I think for me, it is also about finding people who might be doing similar work, which,
Mm.
and because, even in the water sector, you'll be like, oh, you're doing physical, so you're a hydrologist, or
Mm.
you're a social scientist. So in that sense, uh, and then also the difference in how you practice it, the research or the policy, the implementation. I think these differences become very stark when you start talking, even among the water people. So maybe that could be a way to figure out how to meld that all into one, because it does become difficult when your understanding of how water works is different, especially because, when you talk to people, they'll be like, oh, you've done the research to kar liya, ab solution batao. So it's like, but we have been taught that, understanding the problem largely is a bigger part of the solution.
Yes.
So I mean, even within the sector, this also happens, right? कि like, अब solution बताओ तुमने, you've done so much research, so
Yes.
maybe
I
even
face it for a long time now, and I don't have
yeah,
answer to solution.
yeah. So maybe the network could be something that allows this to happen, where probably like a pipeline, a vertical pipe, a horizontal pipeline, and a vertical pipeline for different, generations. And then what also, because no what also matters is the outreach. And I know like W4W has a greater outreach, but there is still so much more, and probably the area wise outreach, the geographical
Mm.
outreach is something that could be focused on. Yeah, I mean, these are all like things I would want, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soma?
Yeah, I think these networks, councils are really important, spaces for connecting with peers and having a mutual learning platform. I have immensely benefited from these associations, councils, or be it water or urban studies or ecological studies,
Mm.
and I have been able to form many academic and professional collaborations out of these. So I understand, like, uh, pursuing research at an university is one thing, and then having these peer networks is altogether a different thing. It's
Absolutely.
immensely important, and particularly for early career scholars, PhD scholars, to get a direction on their
Mm.
research. I think it is very important. It helps with your, it gives a lot of guidance with your publication, how to, present your research and all those so many things. So, I would say like those small fellowships, sometimes, research grants or visiting fellowships or workshops, even very small, webinars about, how to present your research or how to, on different methodologies perhaps, and all this small pocket workshops that happens also. I find those very helpful. And it also keeps you updated with the newest, conversations that are going on, something that
Yes.
are not often a part of your curriculum or existing papers and all those things. So I find these to be very important platform. And when you have a women's collective within it, nothing like it.
Mm.
Because that then in that space, women can talk about their challenges also,
Mm.
their representation, support with their positions, and not just with early careers. I think in the senior leadership also, there are challenges that comes with employment also,
Yes.
something that could be discussed in forums like that. So I think it is very important.
Yeah, I just want to highlight to both of you, because both of you are not part of the Wiki Water Resource Council, where we started from zero to now over 100 women. Honestly speaking, there were questions on having council as disciplinary or sector wise, and it took a long time for people to understand this council is for leadership, which transcends all the subsectors, and people are there who are working on wastewater, to people who are working on gender, who are working on emerging pollutants and social ecological systems, who are teaching water to children, not with any specific specialization, but the art of teaching. Artists, water artists are there. So it was very difficult in the beginning to, to imagine a council which is not coming from a specialization. And this is also to respond to Rinan, because leadership itself is a sector, and then we are talking about a special overlay of water leadership. So it was very hard, but honestly speaking, when I heard through over 100 sessions with nearly 120 speakers in this, it has been worth doing this journey, to be honest, to hear from everyone what do they think about leadership, because this session is more on leadership, to be honest, and how women navigate in this space in water sector, whether you are working in the social science part of it, natural science, technical science. There are some common patterns which now we have the task to take it further to how do we write it and research about it. And writing becomes still a challenging part for me, but we will see how we can go ahead with it. That brings me to the last question, and it is a question in two parts again, but very simple question. It will be your message, which we want to use it as a snippet. So very short message for young generation, no gender issue in it, engendered message from you. Why should people join more people? Why do we need more people in the water sector? Your message, as short as possible, so that we can use it for promotion. Rinan.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you feel that there are too many, or sometimes you feel, uh, I feel, it is also about every person who's working on water has their own perspectives. So even if you're working on the same problem, your perspective is going to be unique, and probably the way that you deal with it, you never know how your solutions might look like in comparison to how the others before you have been. And another thing I would like to mention is, I think we are here who are lucky enough that we can have a sustained interest in the work that we want to do. And that's something which is a little difficult with the younger people, younger than us. Not that we are very old, but it is how do we keep a sustained interest in water? Uh, Probably that's a question for us also, but also for the younger people to figure out if if they can do it or not. I mean, not if they can do it or not, but like, how do we sustain their interest? I think it's a question for us also. But yeah, you never know how your solutions might look like, or how you understand the problem might look like. So it is a very interesting proposition for life, I think, if you want to keep at it. Yeah.
Thank you. Soma?
Yeah, I also I agree with Rinan. I mean, we are increasingly working towards a more uncertain world. The climate is changing, the rainfall, precipitation patterns, droughts, everything is changing. Things are becoming very unpredictable. At the same time, our cities are changing.
Mm.
A major
The
major
world is
section of the
changing
population, the
now
world
with
is
all those
changing.
wars.
Yes, everything is changing. So we are in a very critical juncture of transition, I would say, because with the rapid rate of urbanization, and our cities are not well equipped, if I say so. The infrastructure has not kept pace with the growth. So, in the coming future, while there are aspirations, there would be further unique challenges also, which opens up the space for newer thinking, newer solutions, where the younger generation might come. So that is a space that people who would want to pursue research in the sector might want to take up.
Okay, that brings me to the last question. Again, it's a snippet which we want to convey to our young friends. It's about small behavioral changes or acts that we can do to ensure engendering of water in the workspace or anywhere for that matter. Small behavioral change, anyone, all genders people should do so that everyone feels more, it's enabling environment. What do you think as individuals we should do? Renan?
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Simple behavioral change you would like to see we bring in the working, chemistry or work environment that can engender the water sector little bit more.
I think it is because we know many examples of, how I think even Veena, when it was a session, she mentioned how people will not, I don't know about how they don't listen. And more listening. I think you should sometimes sit and listen. And also it is also sometimes they say the same things which we say but not very clearly. I think she mentioned that. So maybe just have better listening skills.
Nice. And probably listening with accepting woman's voice into your ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think this also goes to accepting women leadership, because even women face this challenge of accepting women leadership. Soma?
Yeah, I would say be flexible, inclusive, and participatory. If a space is genuinely participatory, many of the challenges that we face would go away.
That's nice. Actually, I would like to share here again that listening to all of you over 100 sessions, learning from all of you has been the biggest achievement in this whole series. We come to the end of this conversation, but that also opens an option for you to keep to make it little sound like a little bit more democratic and participatory. If you have any question for me, this is the time for you to ask.
I don't know if you've been asked this before, but now you have like around 1,500 to 800 into sessions, right?
No, it's
And
400 plus sessions, but Monday is 100
yeah,
plus now. Yes, yes.
yeah. And what is your ideas for them now, like going forward? Like what
Yeah.
are your plans?
Oh, that's a good question and very difficult. And trust me, first of all, we did not imagine that we will come so far. Personally, I am very fond of listening and learning, and that is how I designed this. But the fact that we could run it for 400 plus sessions and 100 in Monday, which is now closing today, uh, I see that there is so much of scholarship now available with us. And now, for last 1 year, I have been thinking, how can we process it and take it to the next level? I don't have any clear idea right now, other than my personal interest to write a biographical, book, which I am already working on. So bringing all the biographies of all of you to put together so that this can be distributed to as many offices and organizations as possible, that we are the water workers of the country. Something like that. That is a low hanging fruit I am imagining. But yes, I am actually seeking advice and taking advice from many young friends and old friends, and they come up with a lot of very interesting ideas how this data can be processed and what can be
Yes.
done further. I don't have the capability to do it. But if there are people, I'm very much willing to look at it. This is an open access knowledge. And honestly speaking, for more than 3 years now, when we touched 100, I am already thinking that this is the work which actually should have been in first place, should have been done by the government. But now, since we have already done it, we would like to dedicate it to the country. And the biggest nightmare and fear I am carrying all these days or every session, and I'm very honest about it, and I feel vulnerable, that it should not remain in the space of Mansi and W for W. It should go to some institutional repository, some government repository where it can last forever, and I have to decode how to do that. I will write to ministry, I will write to some university that they can own the whole thing. We don't wish to own anything out of it, except that we already facilitated, we brought everyone together, we have the knowledge put together. But that is the ultimate, I will think in terms of physically placing it somewhere. But then making a further scholarship out of it or co-producing some scholarship out of it, I think the biggest shout I will give to everyone is that please study us. And I have been saying this for Wiki WRC. So here is something we have created as a lived experience. Again, it's the same question I face in my lake, ma'am, you know lake so much, why don't you go and clean the lake? But the person who is producing lake knowledge does not have to be the same person going and cleaning the lake. We have division of labor, we have specialization. So honestly, Rinan, I would like not only Wiki WRC or Monday Munching to be studied by researchers and scholars, because they will study all of you, not what we did as a movement, but also study the whole movement of W for W. I think it is a movement which needs to be studied, but I don't think W for W or Mansi can be the person to study. We bring in bias, and also there is something called limitation of a study. If we manage to reach 500 sessions, I think we set up a very classic example to be studied as a case study, as a collective. Here is something which was not planned, nothing, no big dreams, no big agenda, which is a bit drawback. By the way, many times I wrote grant proposals and we did not get the grant proposal because they want measured impacts. Now, I don't have measured impact. Neither in Wiki WRC or neither in W for W's series, and they are two different entities, because I will be now down from national president and will have a new president from April, by the way. So then W for W activity is completely different than what Wiki WRC does. But I think it is a very good repository and case study, which I would love master student or even a PhD student to take it and see what are the diverse topics covered, and which also tells us, which also actually paints the canvas of India's water discourses. If 700 people have spoken in different sectors, which needs to be studied, what are the prioritization? Of course, it is dependent on speakers, but we have not yet analyzed it. We would love to do that, but we are in the process of analyzing at least the Monday sessions, as how many women from which sector, what are their thoughts, and especially looking at how do they look at leadership, how do they look at leadership skills, how do they look at association. This is something which we are already in process to analyze with somebody else. We need people to analyze, and I think simple line, please study these movements, because they will go far down in, I believe that they will go far down in history, that at least there was some movement like this. And dedicate the whole sessions and everything to the country, I mean, in physical sense. But in scholarship, there is so much to process here. If I stop everything, I can actually start processing the scholarship even in a minuscule level, which we try to do. We write at least 1 or 2 articles every month from every Wednesday session, which is not enough. And also it is dependent on getting researchers. So lot to do, but I am open for suggestions and collaboration. That is how I can put it. But no big plans, to be honest. But big worry I carry now, that what will happen to these things, and this knowledge repository should not die with the death of W for W or death of Fancy. I mean, this is something very pragmatic to think, because someone has, a group has made an effort to bring everyone together. So much of knowledge is there. It should not evaporate with one organization or individual. In fact, W for W ideally should be closed, because it is completely bankrupt in terms of human resource and financial resource. So it should close, but it is okay if that something started and closed. But then how do you process is something, probably once W for W closes or I get off the Wiki Water Resource Council, I'm better placed to see how I can process the data. So right now I have not big plans, or I don't see anything doing myself, but yes, very open for collaboration. I know someone who has downloaded all our videos. I don't know for what purpose, but that person also appreciated and told what can be done in data processing. So I'm like, please do it and make it your work. No problem. It does. W for W does not want to have a copyright or Wiki WRC. As long as the knowledge goes far, I think the purpose of this knowledge production is fine. If it is co-production, definitely it is appreciated, but we don't have control in today's AI what one can do and not. So actually that person told me by calling that I have downloaded all your videos and they are so rich. Now, what to do, what that will be done, and what will be used, I don't know. If you know some scholar who would like to read us as a case study, please let me know. Because I think even W for W can be, I can guide someone to how to do a PhD research on it. Because this is the whole canvas of India's water resource discourse, you know. So, Soman, do you have any question? You know, I get very emotional because these are very pertinent questions when people ask me.
Right.
Most of the people ask me, what will I do with all these 100 sessions? But definitely, it's an open source knowledge available. And of course, we are planning this little book for all of us.
Absolutely. I think once they should come out as compendiums and policy
Yes, we are
suggestions to
planning
the
a
government.
compendium. Yeah, but compendium, the limitation of compendium is that we will only have the biographies because otherwise someone has to sit and actually transcribe the discussions, which we are planning for Monday,
Yeah,
not for all.
and also I think the speakers can contribute in terms of the writings.
And that's a long process because we tried once with the Monday Munching, they sent a small survey to everyone to with these questions which I asked to give few lines so that we can take it directly. But I think writing becomes a big challenge, continues to be a challenge for many people. And that's why the interviews have really worked well. But how do we translate the interview to text? Because we are all researchers, so we love to have the text version of it. But I thought video version is equally good.
But this is immensely helpful. I mean, I come back to the W4W videos all the time if I have any doubt about a particular aspect. I immensely benefited from the Lake series.
Yeah, that is a very good series, by the way. Yes, I know you were also working on this lake work as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Okay, that brings an end to our conversation. Thank you so much, Rinan and Soma, for this enlightening interaction. I felt the conversation was flowing like water, to be honest. And I do hope you felt the same and enjoyed this, and it was not too much taxing for you. May you become inspiration to others, and it is really grateful to have learned about your water endeavors. And I hope that you will continue your activities and keep us posted about it. We will not continue Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. Now it has been 4 years that we conducted 100 sessions. It may sound very less every year, but in total it is quite a lot to have 100 sessions. Personally, I have dedicated over 1,000 hours in 4 years to run this show and also to run the Wiki Water Resource Council. We are looking forward to new leadership, and we hope that the new leadership will take this foundation of Wiki Water Resource Council to new heights. Do keep following the social media platform, and of course, from April, the new leadership will take it to the new ways. Right now, it is fundamental, rudimentary, I will say, but I think that's how any initiative starts, from slow and steady. We have been steady for 4 years, so we hope for nice things to happen in future. And I do hope both of you also think of joining the Wiki Water Resource Council. And I will be there also, but we will have new president and vice president there. Thanks a lot, Rinan and Soma. Please take care, and we see each other soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.